You talked about the mentorship that you received, from teachers as you were young. How do you try to replicate that with your own students?
Okay. Today we have a very special guest. This is Justine Walton. She's a social studies teacher at Minchville High School. Before she became a teacher, she earned her bachelor's and master's degree at Christopher Newport University. Outside of school, she loves to read, go to the gym, and spend time with family and friends. And a key separate detail is you love to travel. How often do you travel that you make that as a separate detail?
I have been very fortunate to travel outside of the country a number of times. When I was in college, I did some study abroad time, and I try to at least once a year go on a little trip, either abroad or somewhere to a state I've never been. A life goal of mine is to go to all 50 states.
Okay.
So,
How many do you have down so far?
not that many. I think it's around 18, 20.
Okay, that's probably more than me.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah.
Cool. Well, how would you describe your general story, having gotten to this point, starting from when you were born, in just a couple sentences?
Well, I was born and grew up in Mechanicsville, Virginia, which is just outside of Richmond.
Okay.
My whole family, basically extended family, is in Mechanicsville, so I grew up very close. Aunts, uncles, cousins, whole family is there. And so I grew up, loved going to school. I was a nerd. I loved school so much, and when I went to college, I felt like teaching was really my calling, so I went for it, and I'm loving it so far, and now I'm here. So I kind of stayed in the area after seeing you, and yeah.
So you said you found you wanted to be a teacher in college. Did you know you wanted to be a teacher before you went to college?
I had always considered it, and my mom is actually a teacher, so
Okay.
growing up, I played in her classroom, playing teacher, and kind of learned some things from her, but I didn't want to just teach because my mom taught. So I really wanted to kind of explore different things.
Yeah.
And it always came back to teaching for me. I think it's something inside of me, like this God-given passion or talent, whatever you want to call it. It's what I feel like I'm called to do. So I went that route.
So how long have you been teaching for?
This is my second year.
Okay, so relatively new.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What grade do you teach?
9th grade,
Oh,
mostly.
middle school. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's freshman.
Yeah, high school.
Okay, cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Nice. What's the hardest part of doing it? Like with all the students and all the faculty, which side would you say is the hardest part of it?
Wow. There are a lot of challenges, not gonna lie. I think as a new teacher, some of the hardest parts is just managing your time. You're, trying to make lessons, trying to connect with students, attending your meetings, all of that, and kind of not getting lost in all of the to-do lists because it's never ending. You're never going to check off everything off your to-do list. So keeping that big picture in mind is really important to me. Like why I'm here every day is to teach these students and hopefully inspire them to kind of be the best student, best version of themselves somewhere along the way. Is the goal.
I feel like it's safe to say you're enjoying it. You seem to be.
Yes, I do. I do love it. And there are challenges. I mean, you have, of course, students from all different backgrounds, and not a lot of them love school the way I did growing up. So how do you get them to engage and kind of not mind so much that they have to sit in your classroom and learn about history? Not all of them like to do that. So
yeah, I definitely understand that.
yeah.
So you were part of the YVC, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
I work with a club at Minchville High School with the Service Through STEM program.
Awesome.
So that is a club where members, high schoolers, we get together. We plan STEM activities to then go to 5th grade classrooms which we go to the elementary school right next to us, BC Charles Elementary. And we go into the 5th grade classrooms, and the high schoolers, kind of do the activities, lead the students through the process of creating and navigating different issues. And
so it's led by the high school students?
Yep, they do it. They lead it all. Yeah.
Okay.
So my role is really just to facilitate. I kind of give them the tools, and then they figure out, okay, how are we going to connect with the 5th graders and teach them these different things. So they do it, and I'm just there to troubleshoot.
Oh, that's really nice. What's the most recent one you guys were doing?
Recently, we just went, I think last week, and we did an activity where they had to build a boat.
Okay. And
that could float and carry like a passenger. We had like little figurines in a bucket of water, and to try to get it to one end of the water quickly and efficiently, but also making sure the passenger didn't get wet and all of that. So they had to kind of figure out how to build the boats, make their sails work correctly, and figure that kind of out on their own.
Okay.
While incorporating some STEM, like vocab, like buoyancy, and talking about that, and oceanic engineering, stuff like that. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I know my old school had something very similar to that. Like we had to make like an egg carton and have to push it across water. It was a ton of fun. But how was service involved in that? Like how was YVC helping guide that process at your school? Yeah.
So the service element comes in with our high school students because they are giving up their time. We meet multiple times throughout a month, and then they also spend a full day, almost a full day at the elementary school, taking their time to connect with the kids. And so that's the service element of reaching those students and giving them something to look forward to, something fun, something exciting, and maybe even to connect with a high school student that shares a similar story with them. Maybe they can see themselves in that student and think, oh, this is where I can be in a few years, to encourage them to stay on the right track with school.
Okay.
So there's that. We also do encourage our members to take part in other YVC activities going around in the area. We have the can structure coming up, where we basically are collecting canned goods to donate, but to then create a a structure of some sort that fits the theme for the year. So lots of schools sign up to do it. I think all of the YVC clubs at the schools join in, and so we create these big structures out of these cans to kind of fit a theme. So this year it's reaching across worlds through literature. And and then with that we're collecting canned goods to donate at the same time. So
nice. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So what are they doing with the World with Literature theme? They're creating just any structure?
Yeah, any structure out of the cans that fits into the theme. Now, this is my first year doing this, so I've never done it before.
All right.
So I'm still learning, but I'm excited for it. It sounds really cool.
Nice.
That's coming up.
And I kind of had a question. You were talking about becoming a teacher, and of course the service to STEM piece with like the mentorship tied in. And you mentioned, I'm rephrasing this slightly, but about I guess helping people be their best is something that's kind of. So I had a twofold question, but one I thought was I love that concept, and I thought, was there anybody ever that in your life personally that was kind of like a mentor or helped you kind of push you to be better or learn or challenge you?
Absolutely. Many people throughout my life fit that role. It's one of the reasons why I love what I'm doing with YVC is it gives students an opportunity to provide mentorship. I think it's so important. And so for me, growing up, my mom was always a big supporter and a big mentor. And of course, she's my mom, but she really was kind of the best teacher for me and taught me a lot of things about just, values that I hold to this day. And then I think the the mentorship from teachers when you're going through school is kind of something unmatched. I mean, when you are growing up and you are at different stages in your life, where that really makes a difference when you have good teachers making a positive impact for you. And so I had really great teachers. I was really lucky. I had great teachers pretty much all through school. My third grade teacher, she was just my favorite person in the world. Like, I wanted to be her so bad. And then, you know, in high school, I just had really great teachers who encouraged me to just try new things. And so I really comes back to the teachers. Maybe that's why I chose teaching. But yeah.
Nice.
When you made that move from high school to college, you know, what were some of those values or qualities that you think helped you kind of transition into, you know, high school to college, from college to workforce?
That's a great question. I have always been very organized. And so that helps me a lot into the transition. That's something that I think can be difficult for students when you go from high school, where a lot of teachers are kind of reminding you of things coming up and you've got this project due and this assignment. When I went into college, you kind of don't have that. It's kind of on you to do the studying, do the work, keep everything on track. And I think that organization really helps me in that transition. In terms of school. The other part is the social part of finding your people, finding new groups that, you know, when you're in high school, you kind of go to classes with the same people and you kind of have your friends, and then you start all over when you go to college. So that can be scary on its own too. And so for me, someone told me, you get in you get out what you put in to the college experience. And so I kind of took that and thought, okay, I'm going to invest in things and see what I can get in return for that. So finding different clubs I wanted to join or different groups I wanted to be a part of, you kind of taking that first step and then see what comes from it.
Okay. How did some kids in high school, how can they get involved in clubs like you were saying, but at their levels, like the YVC STEM program you were just talking about? How can they get involved in that?
Yeah, well, actually, there are a ton of clubs in most high schools that really all you have to do is show up to the meetings to join. And I know that's how our club works. We're very fortunate at Menchville. We have a lot of students involved, and it's awesome. It's really awesome to see. And so if they can just come to a few meetings, I mean, that's all it takes is just showing up, you know, and being willing to take the time and be there. And so it's not as difficult as it might seem. And you don't have to do every club under the sun, you know, pick one or two that you really want to invest in and then do it.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah.
What do you see as your kind of goals for your next 5 years? What do you see for yourself?
Wow, that's a great question. I think I will still be teaching.
Okay.
I don't know what grade, if I'll stick with 9th grade forever. I do love my freshmen, though. I love teaching the freshmen. But I technically could teach any social studies class. I would love to teach government one day. My major in college was political science. So, yeah, I actually am very interested in all of that. So I think that would be very cool. But yeah, I'm sure I'll still be teaching, hopefully in the area. Yeah, that's kind of my 5-year plan.
Nice.
How did you you talked about the mentorship that you received, you know, from teachers as you were young. How do you try to replicate that with your own students?
That's a really good question. No, I'm thinking because it's good. I think something about mentorship or just working with high schoolers in general, that age group in particular, they're not always perceptive if you tell them what to do.
Okay.
And I'm like that. I growing up, I was stubborn. I didn't like people telling me what to do. But kind of guiding students to get there on their own, giving them the resources, giving them the support and the encouragement of, you can do what you want to do, and I'm going to be here to, help you along the way. I think that's really cool, and more impactful in my mind than just giving someone the end goal, but really working through the steps to the end goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
And that's something that when we go to the 5th grade classrooms for our field trips or excursions, it's something I tell our members, where you don't want to just tell the 5th graders, well, this is how you make a boat.
Yeah.
You want them to kind of figure it out on their own. So you've got to figure out, how am I going to get you there without telling you exactly what to do?
Wow.
And
that
they
seems
take
really beneficial for them. To
Yeah.
learn stuff like that.
Definitely. And you've got to take ownership to do that. Instead of just having someone tell you everything,
Absolutely.
you've got to kind of have your own ownership over it. But you've got that person kind of older, wiser, guiding you along the way to make sure you're not going off in a crazy direction.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When you think about some of the students and things, and some of the young guys in here, young ladies in here, do you think what's some advice that you would give them at this stage, at 15, 16, 17? What if you could talk back to yourself, what would you say?
I would say, don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone. And when...
Like showing up for a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, very out of the comfort zone.
Very out of the comfort zone for me. I've never done this before. It's fun,
Neither.
though.
We're all doing it together.
But when I was at CNU, something they talked about was, there's your comfort zone, then there's your challenge zone, and then there's your panic zone. And you don't have to do things that get you to the panic zone, right? So if something is like crazy intense for you, maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
But you can challenge yourself, because that's where you're going to grow. You don't grow by staying in your comfort zone. And so doing things that maybe you wouldn't naturally do, but is not going to kill you. And seeing what comes from it, because really rewarding stuff in my experience comes from being in that challenge zone.
Yeah.
So I would say, seek those opportunities, take those risks, and just see what happens. Be open to what can come from it.
That's really great advice. I never thought about it like that. Like the 3 different tiers.
Yeah. It helps me put in perspective of, is this really, really panicky, or is this just challenging me a little bit?
Okay.
How do you try to measure that? How do you try to know, okay, I'm in my panic zone now?
I think I think when you're in your panic zone.
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids, myself included, struggle with anxiety or just different mental health issues, and that can be tricky, because you don't want to do things that could harm your mental health or could be very difficult for you to achieve. I would say the thing about finding your own challenge zones and panic zones is to not compare to other people, because everyone's is going to be different.
Yeah.
I might be very comfortable with public speaking because I stand in front of classrooms every day and give lessons, but not everyone is going to be comfortable with that. Some people, that's a panic zone.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but it's going to look different for everybody. So I think kind of maybe bringing it down, if you're trying to do something, it's like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst that's going to happen? Am I just going to be a little uncomfortable? I think, you can handle that. That may be a challenge zone. If it's going to be, put you in a spiral, that's something else, something different.
Nice.
And I just want to say too, how much we appreciate your service to YVC this year, to helping us and making service system so successful at Menchville High School. You've done a phenomenal job. So
thank you.
Thank you on YVC's behalf. And one of our kind of concluding questions we always ask is, what's the service way to you? So, kind of close that. What is the service way to you?
Thank you so much. And I loved my time with YBC. It's kind of was an unexpected joy for me this year because I don't teach STEM. I teach history.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was asked to lead this group, I was a little surprised, but I was all for it because I was like, this sounds so amazing. And because service is at the core of it, and that is something I've always loved and felt is very important. And so the service way for me is about putting others before yourself and giving back to your community. And I think we live in a society that is very individualistic, and it's very, look out for yourself. What do you need? All of that. And there's value to that at times, but being a part of something that is bigger than just you is so important. And so whether that's going to a 5th grade classroom and mentoring 5th grade students, or volunteering at a food bank, or anything that's going to better the community, better someone else other than you, is really cool. And so that's what I think service means to me. And I love that this program gives high school students that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That was really great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.